There is a lost city, forgotten in the interior of a remote country, that was simply abandoned by all its inhabitants. There was no war, no natural disaster, no economic crisis. The reason was far more disturbing. A legend that grew so much that no one dared remain there. Today, if someone walks through the ruins, they find houses still standing, broken windows and furniture covered in dust. There are children's toys scattered in yards, clothes inside closets, and family photographs still hanging on the walls. It is as if, in a single night, life had been interrupted. But the few records that remained tell a sequence of events that defy any logical explanation. It all began in the mid-1970s when the first strange reports appeared. For several nights, residents claimed to hear distant screams. They weren't normal screams. They had something animalistic, almost metallic, as if they echoed from within the earth. Some described it as sounding like iron being scraped against stone mixed with human crying. At first, they thought it was exaggeration, just hysteria from some families. But soon, the noises began to be heard by everyone. And it wasn't just that. Animals began to disappear. Cattle were found lifeless in the morning, but without blood, as if they had been drained. No predator would do that. The dogs, which once ran freely through the city, began to hide under beds, growling at empty corners. Many even refused to eat. It was as if they sensed something that humans could not see. That's when the stories began about shadows crossing the streets. Some said they had seen slender figures, too tall to be human, watching from the windows, always accompanied by a strange sound, like chains being dragged across the ground. Local authorities tried to calm the population. They said it was just thieves, or maybe some wild animal. But the residents knew something was wrong, especially after the first human disappearance. During a summer festival, when almost the entire town was gathered in the square, a young woman disappeared without a trace. The next morning, her house was found covered in strange symbols scratched on the walls, as if someone had marked everything during the night. The floor was covered in ashes, but there was no sign of fire anywhere else. From then on, nothing was the same. People began to vanish frequently. Some reappeared days later, but completely changed. They no longer recognized their own family, spoke meaningless words, and desperately begged to leave that place. Their eyes were always empty, as if life had been drained from within them. An elderly woman, who lived on the edge of the city, was found standing in the middle of the street at dawn, staring into the darkness. When they tried to take her back home, she only repeated, "They are coming, they are coming," until she lost her voice. Days later, she disappeared without leaving a trace. That was when the exodus began. Entire families fled in the middle of the night, taking almost nothing with them. They left doors open, food on the stove, toys on the floor. The few who remained swore they heard heavy footsteps wandering the deserted streets after midnight. Footsteps that never approached quickly, but never stopped either. Always constant, always behind someone. The decisive point came on a foggy night. A dense, thick fog covered every street, making it impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. The air smelled of iron and moisture. At that moment, the bell of the abandoned church began to ring on its own. The sound did not seem to come from above, but from the depths, as if something underground wanted to announce its arrival. Reports say the fog seemed alive. Whoever walked through it felt the sensation of being followed. Some claimed to see distant silhouettes, always still, waiting. Others swore that space itself was distorted, that the streets never ended, and the more people ran, the more trapped they became. An entire family was seen running down the main road. In the middle of the fog, witnesses claimed they simply vanished, as if they had been swallowed by the air. No trace was ever found. When the fog finally lifted, dozens had disappeared forever. What was left of the population understood there was no choice. Within days, the city was empty. Today, the place still exists, but it does not appear on current maps. Roads that once led there have been blocked, and any attempt to approach causes strange problems. Travelers say GPS fails, watches stop, and the road seems to stretch infinitely until the driver gives up and turns back. Some explorers claim they have already reached the main streets. They found houses still intact, tables set, yellowed newspapers on the porch. But all tell the same story. After a few minutes, the feeling begins that someone is watching them from inside the dark windows. What happened in that city remains unanswered. Some believe it was mass hysteria. Others speak of secret cults, ancient rituals that went wrong. Still others insist that supernatural forces simply drove everyone out. But one thing is certain, no one ever lived in that place again. And to this day, those who dare to walk through the ruins claim to hear at nightfall the same metallic sound of chains being dragged. Perhaps we will never know the truth, but there are places that were erased from the map for a reason. And this city is one of them. The only question is, if you knew where it was, would you have the courage to enter?
Here on Dark Side Terror. If you dare, subscribe to the channel, ring the sinister bell, and leave your like so new legends can reach you. See you in the darkness.